Welcome to Career in Ruins, where this week we're an award-nominated podcast.
Yeah, we are.
Had to open with it.
It's a good start. It's a good opener. It's been a way. It's been too long since we've done a podcast to announce that, hasn't it?
I know, it's super exciting. So what are we nominated for?
We are nominated for the category of best presentation or digital.
Is it presentation and dissemination?
Dissemination.
Is that the one?
There we go. There we go. I'm glad you were paying attention. Council of British Archaeology Awards.
Yeah, which is exciting, not least because we get to have a little trip, don't we?
We do, back to Belfast. I quite enjoyed that
Lovely.
last time. Yeah, so it'll be good. And we got some amazing people in the category as well. It makes you feel quite humble for sort of fantastic people that have been shortlisted, and great to be in and around the names.
Particularly our dear friends over at Stratmates.
Yes, yeah, Meg and John, they do a fantastic job on the Duratrigus Big Digs and other things, sort of teaching people about the world of archaeology and excavations and practical skills.
We'll be able to tell now if they listen or not, because I've noticed something. They've suddenly started posting an awful lot of content lately.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think we can speak too much.
It's almost like they're playing the game.
Don't hate the players, Derek. Hate the game.
I know, we just need to put more stuff out. Let's do a podcast.
Let's do a podcast, and we've got a great one today, but we'll come on to that in a bit. So we're shortlisted for award, and I think we're super proud of that, aren't we? I think it's been nearly 5 years we've been doing this now, and we've had some brilliant participants. And it's fair to say we wouldn't be shortlisted for that award without all the amazing professionals that we get to interview, who share their careers in ruins and sort of help people realize that there's so many different strands to our amazing profession, and there's so many different ways to get into it. And when you're in it, the world's your oyster. You don't have to specialize in anything in particular, or you can specialize to your heart's content.
I think that's the thing that I most like and I'm grateful about the nomination, because I still remember when we were in the library cafe at work at Bournemouth Uni, and we were chatting about how we wanted to be superstar media archaeologists, and we said let's do a podcast because we won't have to worry about video editing or worry about controlling our facial expressions. And when we were just banding ideas about what we could do, and we sort of had all these lofty ideas. Oh, let's put the world to rights through the lens of archaeology, blah, blah, blah. And we suddenly realised actually it'd be much easier and much nicer to just hear the stories of all the friends and colleagues we have. And I remember thinking even then we were always blessed with being able to hear lovely stories from lots of different people, and doing the podcast has given us the chance to chat to so many folks, many who sometimes we haven't met before, new people now. It's just got bigger and bigger, and we get to hear a new story every week. It's wonderful.
So what you're saying is we get to piggyback off of all these amazing people, their amazing careers, and we get all the glory. I mean, it's genius.
Exactly. Yeah, we get a trip to Belfast. We get to suit up. We get to. Are we wearing matching suits?
Oh yeah.
Good,
We'll work that out. We've got to find some. Hopefully, Penny will have sent us those career and ruin socks by then, so we can put those on as well.
Excellent.
Other than the award, anything else you want to you mind? I've got 3 things I want to run by you quickly.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I mean, this is a bit of a sort of a public service announcement. I just wanted to let people know that the CAA UK, the Computational Applications in Quantitative Methods in Archaeology conference. They have a conference coming up in December, and it's now open for tickets. And it's very cheap and reasonable. I think a full price ticket is £60 for a 2-day conference. It's brilliant. It's great. There's awards for master's students who will be presenting their dissertations. And if you want to learn about the latest technologies, the latest digital techniques being used in archaeology, then it's the conference to go to. Now, I'm a bit biased because I am the current chair of CAA UK, but I will be having to stand aside after this conference because I'll have had my full tenure. So I also say anyone that is a nerd like me and would like to be the chair of CAA UK, which is a relatively straightforward job, but also sounds very grandiose. So, then check out the website and send us in your submissions.
It's a great opportunity for someone, and I can speak from an unbiased perspective because I'm not the chair of CAA, that it is one of the most fun conferences you can go to, not least because it's probably the one time of the year that many of these people actually go outside, so they're really sociable, really up for chatting, really up for hanging out, so it's a great time.
I can neither confirm nor deny this assessment of this situation. But when I first became chair, it was 2019, pre-COVID, and it was the one at Bournemouth. It was at Bournemouth International Centre.
Oh, I remember that one.
And we interviewed Sarah Perry, and that's one of our earlier podcasts.
Was that season 1? That must have been very early doors.
Yeah, it was pretty early, but yeah. So yeah, go back and check out that podcast. That was a good podcast. But yeah, other public service announcement. Did you know it's Dyslexia Awareness Month?
I did not, but I am aware of my own dyslexia, so I'm already ahead.
Well, that's it. I think what I just want to say, as a horribly dyslexic individual, and I know that you suffer from, a slightly milder version, but dyslexia nonetheless. At least you can spell your name. But I just wanted to give a shout out to all the dyslexic archaeologists out there, who there are many, and just point them in the direction of the Chartered Institute for Archaeologists, because they've got some amazing resources, and they have a neurodiverse working group where they meet every couple of months and sort of share stories, give each other sort of tips and experiences that they've gone through, and also just help people out who are struggling. And it's a whole variety of different professionals, from commercial archaeologists to academics and everything in between.
That sounds like a great public service announcement and a tremendous service. And I'll echo you there in recommending people go and check it out. And do they have any specific resources on helping us decode our WhatsApp messages to each other?
Well, I mean, I just use emojis and GIFs, mate. So that's all I would.
You can't go wrong with a GIF.
No. I like to think I'm a GIF master, but you know.
So what else has been on your mind?
Well, the third and final point is super nerdy. I was watching Batman Dark Knight the other night. Great film. I remember when it came out at the time, 4K, Ultra HD, amazing storyline. Already feels a bit dated. I realise it's like 18 years old now, and it made me feel very old. It stands up. It's still a good film. There's a bit in that film where he's looking for the Joker. I don't think I've got any spoilers. I know I put a lot of spoilers in to a lot of episodes, but at 18 years old, I don't think this is too much of a spoiler now. When he's looking for the Joker towards the end, and he's got this secret technology he's been working on, where he uses people's mobile phones as low frequency sonar, and basically he can see the whole of Gotham in 3D and find individuals. It's a huge like privacy sort of issue, and like he'd definitely go to prison for a very, very long time. It's probably nowhere near as bad as things like Facebook and all the other lot are doing, but I just thought, how cool would that be if you could just get a load of undergraduates to go into an archaeological site with their mobile phones, and all they have to do is walk around, and you collecting sonar and 3D mapping this archaeological site. And I was a bit disappointed that Bruce Wayne didn't. They destroyed the technology at the end, so they typed in the code and destroyed it. No one will ever be able to do it again. But I thought, come on, give it to.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I stand on turning a bunch of students into autonomous drones for capturing 3D spaces. I'm not. I sort of mindful of the ethics approvals we'd have to go through to get that signed off. But speaking of technology, something again, a little voyage into our media consumption of the last week or two. I've gone back in time with what I've been watching this week, not in terms of archaeology or heritage, but I went back to a series I used to love many moons ago, and it was far too short and far too truncated. Did you ever watch Firefly?
Rings a bell. Was it a superhero series?
No, it was a sci-fi series, and it was sort of initially billed, I think, as the opposite to Star Trek. And I know we talk about Star Trek a lot, so I thought I'd take it off in a different direction this time. How it's sort of about the people who exist outside of the Federation and
Oh yeah.
how they go about making business. And it only ran for a single season, and they had a movie at the end to tie it all off. I'm going to say, and I'm going to state this before I get into why I brought this up, it is probably one of the best sci-fi series ever made. And I'm
Okay.
devastated that it stopped at one series, because it almost every new Star Wars series, sorry, everything on Disney Plus is just a rip off of where this would have gone. Like the
Okay.
Mandalorian, all of these kind of rich world building that we see. I think it all goes back to Firefly. But the reason I brought it up is they're traveling around the edge of the universe. They're existing outside of the Federation, their version of the Federation. And almost every planet they settle, it's like going back to the Old West, and they have horses and they're prospectors, and everyone's kind of mining for clay to build microchips, but it's all very oldie worldy, kind of westerny. And it just got me thinking about the future collapse of human civilization, really, and what's going to happen, and how we as archaeologists might be ahead of the game, because we might already know a bit of prehistoric technology, and we can make pots, and we know the good resources. So I was watching it thinking, yeah, there's hope for us at least. And apologies for the dog you can hear barking.
Problem with that, Derek, is that most archaeologists are nerds and will get beaten up.
Yeah, as soon as we fashioned the perfect bronze hammer, someone would take it and hit us with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I will go back and watch that, but that's with a huge caveat that you told me I should watch the series Chuck, and after watching 3 of the relentless number of series in that TV series, I'm not sure how high I hold your recommendations.
Movie recommendations. I did recommend a movie to you. I can't remember its name. It was a president and a prime minister.
Oh yeah. What was that more recently? Yeah,
it was one of the most ridiculous movies I've ever seen.
And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so I've got some
Idris
good
Elba.
fun.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, but that's more. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll give it a go. Anyway, enough about our ramblings. We've got a fantastic podcast today. Someone that I've known for a little while, but we seem to sort of ebb and flow in terms of when we cross paths. But it's the brilliant Dr. Rose Farabee. Farabee. You can correct me in a second. I'm sorry, I absolutely just destroyed that. Rose is an artist and a broadcaster, and she is she works in transdisciplinary. So she does research, she works in practice, she works in archaeology, geology, nature recovery, and most excitingly, she works with the arts as well. So Rose, welcome to Career in Ruins, and please tell me how I've just destroyed your surname.
I've heard all sorts of versions. Farabi was my favourite one.
Oh,
Farabi.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's for special occasions. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just Farabee.
Farabee. Oh, God, that's close.
Nearly.
Rose, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I should say it's an absolute pleasure. So many things that you do inspire me, and it's great to have seen your work like blossom and go down so many routes over the last few years. And I'm a big fan of your series that's on BBC Sounds. That hopefully you'll tell us a bit more about that as we go through. But for now, please tell us about your career in ruins.
So, do I start at the beginning?
All good stories start at the beginning, Rose.
I'll go chronologically in a typically archaeological fashion.
Well, unless you want to, I mean, we're open to all other interpretations.
Now you brought in Firefly, maybe I should do flashbacks or. Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, thank you both for having me. It's really, really lovely and so nice to see you both as well. And we were just saying, weren't we, Lawrence, as last saw you at Avebury, and the lovely thing about archaeology is you're always getting to bump into just very nice people. Yeah. But yeah, and I suppose that's where it all began, really, was with thinking about what to do as a career as a teenager and watching Time Team and thinking, don't they look like they're having a lot of fun? And they're outside, it's creative, it's imaginative, and they have a really nice time, and they go to the pub and it's chatty and discursive. And I don't know, that caught my imagination, and I thought I want to be in the pub with people like that, just having a good chat about what you've been doing all day. And I remember going for my work experience in York at the York Archaeological Trust when I was, I don't know what age you are when you do work experience, 15, 16 something. And the people there were absolutely brilliant, took me up to all sorts of different bits of York's archaeology. And I remember just thinking, this is the bee's knees. This is what I want to do. And despite every single sort of adult at the time telling me I shouldn't do it because I wouldn't get a job, I persevered, as we all have, in the face of unemployment, and went off to do archaeology. And archaeology, what a great subject to do at university. You can just do anything, basically, can't you? It opens every door. It's a fantastic thing to do. I went off to Cambridge University and studied archaeology and anthropology, and specialised in archaeology. And I think probably one of the best things about the degree was just all the really fantastic people I met while I was doing it, both my contemporaries and then an amazing bunch of people who were doing their PhDs and postdocs, who just were so inspiring. They were the people that I looked at and thought, I just want to be like you. They were doing this amazing thinking. They were doing amazing projects. They were going to fantastic places. And I think there was no going back after that. It was, it's a brilliant world to be in, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
I think that community element is the nicest thing, particularly studying archaeology when you've got the master students, the PhD students around, and you do fall into a community quite rapidly. It's a lovely. I remember my time as an undergrad really well from that perspective, and just getting to know people and meeting folks who I'm still friends with, still work with, and spend a lot of time with still.
Yeah, and I think it's a very unhierarchical subject as well. I remember we used to go to the pub as first and second year undergrads with the PhD students, with the lecturers, with the professors, and it didn't matter. It was just everybody was in it together, and you were allowed to see and be part of those conversations that were the things that really inspired you to go on. It was sort of often those things that made you discover the things that you were interested in, maybe. So yeah, that was a good time.
That's quite nice to hear as well, because I'm not sure we've had many Cambridge University undergraduates on our podcast today. And then it's like, I imagine a lot of people can think about these Oxbridge unis as being quite intimidating or exclusive, but actually it sounds like it was certainly the opposite for your experience.
Definitely, yeah. And I think it's such an easy assumption to make. And, I was from a normal state school, never thought of going to Cambridge, sort of basically went on a trip because they had a spare place when they were all taking off all the high flyers, and just thought, well, I'll just give it a whirl. And ended up there. And it's I think it sort of gets a bad press, but I think there's a lot of good people, and that's what counts. Yeah.
That's great. So were you like most people then? You finish your degree and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I suppose I was lucky in some ways, because just towards the end of my degree, I've been working with Martin Millett doing Roman archaeology up on the Yorkshire Wolds. So I'd started working on a project with him. It was at a site called Thwing, which is a great place name. And we've been looking at a Roman site there. And Martin said to me they're advertising positions as research assistants at the British School at Rome. You should apply for one and see if you can get it. So I did, and got it. And so pretty much as soon as I'd finished my degree, I went off to Italy. And that was a really amazing time being out there. The British School at Rome is a wonderful institution. It's a mixture of academics coming out to study and do fellowships in all kinds of subjects, so sort of art history, archaeology, landscape architecture, arts, all sorts. And then they also have residencies for artists. I was there in we used to call it, our position used to be called the Cameroni slaves. So we were doing all the archaeological work out on sites. And when we were back in the British School, you'd be having your lunch next to all these extraordinary artists who were sort of, I don't know, completely famous in their own rights and doing all these amazing things, and or a wonderful architect or all sorts. So you never knew who you were going to be sitting next to or having a chat to. And then at the same time, when you're out on site, we were working on these extraordinary sites all around, sort of mainly sort of Lazio and Campania and things, so around Naples. And the archaeology was just unbelievable. It's what you sort of dream of. And, we had lots of geophysics, and we were doing geophysics of these, in some slightly salubrious places, I'd say, sort of odd parts of the country that you might not go on holiday. And then looking at the results in the evening and just seeing these extraordinary buildings. We were discovering whole Roman towns, emperors' villas, all sorts of things. And just that contrast between sort of, the experience of the day to day and then what we were finding was just unbelievable. And, I ate a lot of really nice food. It was good.
An experience. It sounds incredible. How long a stint is that?
So I think it was normally about a year, but I did 2 years. And there were other people came in and did the position sort of at the same time as well. And it was a very nice bunch. And I used to work a lot with Sophie Hay, who now does lots to do with Pompeii. You might have seen her on the telly and things. And it was her. Generally, it was her and me for a long time, just out in these very random fields, dealing with all kinds of strange situations, like being held up at gunpoint and things. And
it's another day in the office.
Yeah. We're just archaeologists,
Oh, I've never been to the British School in Rome. I've been to one in Athens a few times. Is it a similar situation there, but it's quite a grand building and quite a luxurious place to be?
Yeah, it's a very beautiful building, and it's in the Borghese Gardens. It's a brilliant place. I think places like that where you're just with so many different people, there's nothing quite like it, is there? It's a very valuable place to be.
That must have set you up really nicely, or was it so far removed from a normal archaeological job that you just like, well, now what?
Well, I did a lot of geophysics, Lawrence. I became very good at walking in a correct time rhythm.
Excellent.
Smoothly. But it was actually when I was there, I was meeting all these really interesting artists, and lots of the time we were doing things like exchanging trips. So we would take them out to see some archaeology, and they would take us to see like a Tracy Emin opening in Rome or something, or they'd take us off to, so it was a really nice transfer. And it made me start to think that when I was a teenager, I've always been really interested in art. And I was spending a lot of time you know what it's like doing geophysics. In the old days, it was a lot of standing at the end of a washing line, sort of thinking and looking at the landscape. Yeah. And I was looking at the landscape and thinking about what we were doing. And I realised that in lots of the imagery that comes out of archaeology, not really very much of it captures that experience, that sort of whole way that we learn to see the landscape and we learn to read these different kinds of data and visual imagery that inform what we do. And the way that a lot of that is a process, we're constantly learning, we're constantly changing our ideas, but we're also tuned in to kind of quite weird and specific things when we're out. In lots of archaeological visualizations and things, it was almost like people were trying to find a finish point and say, this is a finished thing, this is how it was. And actually, I was thinking, in a way, the interesting bit is the kind of whole bit before where you're thinking, it could be this, or it could be that, and looking at all these different kinds of work and data. So in my long ponderings at the end of washing lines, I decided to go back to art college and do my MA. So I applied to Edinburgh College of Art to do illustration. And so I left Italy after 2 years and went to a much colder climate. And studied illustration there for 2 years and got really, really into printmaking in particular. They had a fantastic printmaking room at Edinburgh and a really brilliant technician who was just knew so much and was very encouraging. And I got really interested particularly in screen printing, because with screen printing you have to make a plan as to what you're going to make. and you plan out your layers, and then basically you're putting your layers onto the paper. And it's the sort of exact opposite of what we do as archaeologists when we're peeling the layers off to make our whole image in our imagination as to how we think something's worked. So it was almost like I found the other process that worked with my brain. And I absolutely loved just seeing where that took me, and working lots with imagery around aerial photography and geophysics and things, and thinking about how we as archaeologists learn to break down aerial photographs visually into time periods. And when you think about it, that's quite an extraordinary thing that we can do, to look at a flat picture and we can start to see time unraveling in it. Yeah, so I had a nice time doing that.
It sounds great. I love this. My the immediate thing I wrote down then was just 3-dimensional, and this idea of adding that 3-dimensional landscape, that 3-dimensional experience, that 3-dimensional archaeological site, whatever it might be. And yeah, as you say, these are flat images or whatever, whether it's a geophysics plot or whether it's an aerial image, that, yeah, but there's a really nice transition there, isn't there, or correlation between making those prints and working out in your mind that 3-dimensional layering and then bringing it to life.
Yeah, and it's just lovely, I think, to find other ways of making sense of what we do, because sometimes I think in archaeology so much of what we do is quite hard to articulate, or the way that we feel about something, or sometimes you're aware that there's something quite special about what you're doing, but you can't put your finger on what it is. And I like the fact that when I'm making the artwork, my conscious brain sort of switched off, but it's coming out. Those sorts of things are being processed out in a different way, and sometimes it's sort of a surprise what you make.
I love the idea that the screen printing almost has a stratigraphic sequence to it, but you're putting it back together. That's such a lovely way of thinking about it. I'd never really pondered it like that before, that it's sort of one layer at a time, but you're restoring it and building it back, and that's lovely.
Yeah, and the nice thing is you can do things like you can play with opacity and with colour, and in doing that you sort of change the nature of what the image is. So it's the same image, but in these little tweaks, people start to see different things. So I used to use a lot of palettes of green, but layer up things in different ways, and people would think that they were like the cells of plants and things like that. And I really love that, because that's also what archaeology can do. It can be, on one sense, a landscape scale view, and on the other sense, something tiny and microscopic, which tells you about that landscape view. And we have this ability to zoom both in time and in scales as well, don't we? So I like that.
It's lovely as well, because it's a level of accessibility to archaeology that's just not there. I think you mentioned Time Team at the start and watching a program, and there's a lot of beardy weirdies or knitted jumpered people sitting in a pub, going, this is what this is, and the public just consume that. But by approaching data, information, knowledge in a different way and making it artistic or interpretive, it allows people to either make their own interpretations or properly understand how and why we've got to those conclusions.
Yeah, because in a way the fun bit is the working it out, isn't it? And so I like the fact that people can just do that, and there's no right answer or wrong answer. I don't mind what they think it is. It's a freedom to just enjoy it or take from it what they want, and that some things, I always think, it's a bit like a sort of waves on a beach. Not everything will, you get washed over, not everything will stick. But if a few little grains of sand stick and some little bit of your imagination is sparked, then you've done something.
How was a transition from a typical undergraduate degree and then working in Rome to then there's an assumption here, so to correct me if I'm wrong, but to going into an arts masters, was that a completely different type of sort of academic studies and work?
Yeah, it was quite different, and it was quite, I suppose, much less structured, much less led. But I think probably I was so enthusiastic about what I was trying to do. And so I was so keen to just crack on and see what I could do in that time, that I just pursued the sort of ability to be taught some of the techniques and try things out. And I got really interested in book design and how we tell stories through text and image. Yeah, it was a change, but I think I just sort of tootled on my own path.
Jumps in feet first. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. But then I think the hard thing was probably actually at the end of that, you've spent 2 years making the work that you want to make and thinking about how you want to present things. And then obviously there are absolutely no jobs in making nice artwork about archaeology. Although, for me at that time, I could not work out how to bring these two things together in a job. And so it was quite hard actually when I finished art college. I probably was unemployed for about 6 months. I went off and did digs abroad. I worked in the Sudan and in Mauritius on projects where people just said, "Do you want to come?" And I thought, well, I've got nothing else to be doing. So I did, geophysics in interesting places. And then I joined the Cambridge Archaeological Unit and went and dug there for 2 years. And actually, I think that moving between doing the art and then the archaeology sort of allows different spaces to develop in your thinking. And obviously when you're working in commercial archaeology, your brain is so stimulated by the speed at which you're having to work and all the kind of different sorts of archaeology that you're seeing and the different sites and different geologies and things like that I think it was a good kind of feeding time. I learned an awful lot in that 2 years working at the unit. And at the Cambridge Archaeological Unit, like lots of our units, there are some absolutely amazing people, and just people's interest in things, their specialist knowledge, the way people talked about things, again, sort of just made me really want to tell those stories. So, get Mark Knight on to telling you about a piece of Bronze Age pottery, and it's just the most fascinating thing in the world. And he brings, a rather manky looking piece of Bronze Age pottery to life and makes you sort of want to ask questions and think about things and be excited by it. So that was it was a good time. And then after that I there is a sort of career path. Makes sense looking back, but
You'll be our first participant.
I think what I would say is I suppose what I've done through my career is see how things go and then keep following the thing that you think is interesting. And there is a connection in what I think is interesting, which is trying to communicate things to people and celebrating our archaeology and, finding things out. Yes. So I went off to do a PhD at that point in cultural geography in Exeter University, all about how different people, so geologists and quarrymen specifically, work with and understand stone on the Jurassic coast. So I did lots to do with how heritage is seen and understood and how we manage heritage landscapes for people's knowledge. I basically spent 3 years. I actually dug a dinosaur. Well, I dug an ichthyosaur up on the beach. So I feel like I feel like I achieved something.
So when people say to you, "You're an archaeologist, have you ever dug a dinosaur?" You're like, "Yes."
Yeah. And I just spent a lot of time with amazing geologists and quarrymen, watching what they did. I learned stonemasonry and stone lettering, and spent a lot of time down mines and recording things and thinking about how we write about these different people's voices and different stories and the value of different individuals' knowledge and the voices that they have and the language and which voices don't get heard.
Amazing. And right up your alley, Derek.
Right up my alley and on the right coast, which is perfect.
It's a very nice coast, yeah. Yes, I did that. I did my PhD and that was amazing. Cultural geography, absolutely amazing. Geographers doing some really great work around things to do with time, change, heritage, monuments. It was brilliant being in, again, a subject where basically you can do anything as part of geography. So very inspiring and great bunch of people down in Exeter.
Your fantasticness is starting to make sense now, because the sort of breadth and the richness of the sort of your degree, masters, and PhD just explains so much about your the breadth and richness of the stuff you create. Rose, I'll be honest.
It's quite odd saying it out loud, actually, because it's not often you talk about your own career, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, we've both sort of managed to always avoid talking about ourselves in that way on a podcast. So it's quite a neat trick to get other people
Until
to do
now,
it.
we'll have to have a reverse session at some point.
Oh, before we move on to anything else, I've got a very nerdy question about art I wanted to ask you, Rose, because regular listeners of the podcast will know that Lawrence and I are nothing if not thorough researchers, and we do lots of reading and thinking before the podcast, and we've never been known to just turn up and wing it and hope for the best. That wouldn't be us. And in my research, which definitely happened before the podcast and not while we were chatting, I was looking through some of your portfolio, and I was enjoying kind of flicking through a variety of images, and one leapt out at me and I can't stop looking at it, and it's one of the most, I'd say, enjoyable representations of possibly a barrow I've ever seen. It's on the website, it's headed grave goods, and it's a mound with some stratigraphy and a central burial in the middle with those Neolithic, were they chalk drums, I think, illustrated in there, and it tells me a story, and I've tried a bit of art in my time, and I'm not particularly good at it, I'll be honest, and I tend to paint what I can see in front of me and try and make it look real, like there's something there. But this seems to capture so many dimensions in one image. Where do you start with a process like that?
Well, that was a really nice commission. So that was for the Grave Goods project, which was run by Duncan Garrow and Neil Wilkin and Melanie Giles, and they commissioned 3 artists as part of their project to create something about 3 objects, and I got given the Folketon drums, which I was very pleased about, because for those who haven't seen them, they're 3 chalk drums, and I mean like drums as in the sort of cylindrical solid rather than a drum instrument, and they're Neolithic, and they're 3 different sizes, so it's almost like baby, mummy, daddy. The baby one is sort of quite more naively carved, and then it becomes more sophisticated as you get up to the big one. And it's got this beautiful Neolithic geometric decoration. And they have things like on the top, these little sort of almost like a little barrow on the top of the chalk drum with the circular decoration. And they are just extraordinary objects. They're so characterful. And yeah, Duncan and Neil and Mel were really good. They basically just said to me, here's your object. Here's the information about the burial and what we know. And then they said that Michael Rosen was writing a poem about each object as well. And they said, you can either read the poem now, or you can kind of get on a bit and then read it or whatever. But they basically left me to it, which is a really rare thing for people to say, just make something and we'll see what you make, rather than trying to sort of prescribe in detail what they want out of it. They just wanted it to tell the story of the drums and to somehow basically be able to talk about the drums with children as part of the project, and communicate some of what they're about. And so it was really interesting. I went into it in almost like it was archaeological research. So I was reading about them, thinking about the way the grave was, the nature of the barrow. You know, I've worked up on the wold, so that I'm very familiar with its chalky barrows and the sort of the sense of the ground and the landscape there. But then it was about how to tell the whole story in one image, and you start to think about it differently. So you start to think, how does the nature of the drums themselves, how can you get that more broadly into the image? So I took some of the decoration and made it into the stratigraphy of the barrow, and then the barrow is shown both in section, so you can see it, the curve of it on the landscape, but also in plan, so you're almost looking into it at the same time. And then also there was this lovely sense with the drums that they'd been placed around this child's body. And there was a really strong, more than probably any other object I've come across, sense of care for a child that you could feel just even thinking about them. And, you know, they were, 4,000, 5,000 years old. And you still get that sense of people caring for a child. So I really wanted it to have that sense as well, that there was a feeling of it being enclosed and looked after. So I planned my image out, and then I read Michael Rosen's poem, and he'd entirely got the same, he'd thought the same as me, that there was this wonderful sense of care in it. So yeah, I think the lovely thing with making these images, Derek, is that you've got that license to basically tell lots of different stories at the same time and present things in a way, you know, in plan, in section, in aerial, in close-up, all at the same time in one image, and people can find the parts of it that they want, or they can read it in whatever way they want. Yeah, it sort of gives you that freedom to play with all the stories that we get in archaeology.
I think that's the thing that leapt out from this one on me. It's that I hadn't appreciated it was plan and section, but because the plan kind of almost gives a cocoon type feel to it, which is so kind of warming. I quite like it. I'll stop nerding out
I'm
now.
glad you like it.
It is lovely. It is lovely. It is lovely. I'm looking at the moment. We have to put a link in the bio so people can see it on your website. There's a bit of a jump there, I guess, because we've gone through your studies, and then we've gone to being commissioned to create archaeological artwork. What's the transition from finishing your PhD to getting to that point?
That is a good question. So after my PhD, I went to work on Exmoor in the national park,
Which is where we first met.
Yes, indeed, yeah. So for the peatland partnership, who were working there then, so I was doing the archaeology for all the peat projects, and with them, they were really great at thinking about other ways of telling the story about the peat, and they were interested in how to get out all that unseen history of the peat that people can't see because it's under the surface. So we started chatting a lot more about art, and I was sort of remembering some of the things that I wanted to do. And then I got a job back in Cambridge working on writing up a book of our site, mine and Martin Millett's site at Aldborough Roman Town. So I moved back to Cambridge and was working on that massive book, which was sort of quite a different thing, quite detailed. And at that time, Jodie Joy at the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology in Cambridge was planning the Star Car exhibition. And he said to me, would you make a piece of work to go in the exhibition with the archaeological material? And again, he said, you can do it in whatever way you want. It just has to work with the material and sort of give people a sense of the site in some way. And he just left me to it. And so I made 2 paintings for that exhibition. And then not long after that, did the grave goods project. And then when we finished that book in Cambridge and my contract came to an end, I decided basically that I really wanted to focus a bit more on my artwork and writing. So I moved back up to Yorkshire, and then COVID hit and everything sort of went quiet for everybody. And then out of the sort of grainy mists of COVID, Neil Wilkin rang me up and he said, we're planning this Stonehenge exhibition and thinking about this, and would you make something about Seahenge for that exhibition? So I started working on that with Neil, and at the same time, Mel Giles, wonderful Iron Age archaeologist in Manchester, we started working on peat projects together. So she asked me to make the artwork to go alongside a poetry book and to design the book. And then we made another one about the Peak District and Bateman, who'd done all the work in the Peak District. And so, yeah, these things just suddenly started happening, mainly thanks to really fantastic people just being willing to give things a go and, finding the money to fund things and make things and try making things that were different. Like the books I've done with Mel, they're very limited edition, very nicely made, little pamphlets, poetry pamphlets, but the paper feels really nice. And, they've got lots of pictures and the poetry. And you don't get many kind of archaeological poetry books, especially not highly illustrated ones. And they've just been really popular. And it's really nice to see people we have these assumptions as to what people will want and not want, and that I think a lot of people think that things like art and poetry are not valid. And I think especially, in our current climate, it can get pushed to one side somewhat. And actually, those are the things that capture how people feel, make people feel connected to something. Archaeology is a lot about who we are as people, isn't it? And I think that's the lovely things about making those things. They bring in work that's about people and how we feel, but also when people read them or experience the artwork, they feel permission to feel something or think about something. But also it starts all kinds of new conversations, new discussions, new ways of chatting to each other. And that's the best thing in the world. It's like planting a seed and just letting it grow. So
that's lovely. But I think obviously your work speaks for itself, and that career that you've spoken to up to that point, it's sort of obviously it clearly now feeds into so much of your interpretations and your take on things and what you think is important, which is right. I think that your take is right, and clearly it breeds itself. It's like success breeds success, and it's lovely to see that. Yeah, there's a lot to be said there about people putting faith in other people and saying, here, we trust you. Go and go, like, we know what you can do. We know that we've got an idea of what we want. We'll give you a loose brief, but yeah, go for it. And there's some amazing returns to be had with that, with someone like yourself.
Definitely. And I think it's just, when someone gives you an opportunity like that, not only is it a great opportunity that allows you to, try what you can do and things, but it also gives you confidence. And I think for people, thinking about people coming up behind us, giving people that chance to sort of feel like they're trusted, and they're giving a moment to have their work out there and things. It's so valuable, and it's really hard. There aren't many opportunities to do these things, and it makes you think we should create more chances for people to get things out in the world.
Here. So before we move on to the sort of the back end of the podcast, where do you find yourself today? Because you haven't mentioned your BBC Sound series, you haven't mentioned your latest art exhibition in the Wiltshire Museum. Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, so it has been quite a busy couple of years with lovely stuff. I feel very lucky, I have to say. I feel like I've done some of the really big things that my 20-year-old self would have been very pleased about. So in the last few years, I've been making a series for Radio 3 called Earthworks with a lovely producer called Mark Smalley. And those really were born out of, I love the radio. So many of the things that inspire me are things on the radio where they're just these little gem nuggets. And there's something about just somebody's voice coming in, maybe when you're in the car or when you're washing up, where sometimes you just catch this little moment or a story or something that really stays with you. And I really wanted to make a radio program about archaeology that told the different stories about what we do as archaeologists and celebrated the amazing people who work in our subjects and the different ways in which they work and their amazing knowledge and the way it all feeds in and how it's collaborative, but also some of the experiences we get to have, the way we think about archaeological material. So I, with Mark, put in proposal to the BBC and got the first series commissioned, and it's sort of it takes quite a while to get things through. And it came out the other end and was on the radio, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I'd originally planned it as a 3-series thing. So it would go from the scale of landscapes to sites to materials. So you were sort of zooming in and thinking about how we see all those different worlds and how we can unpick them. And I've been really lucky that all 3 series were commissioned. And it's just been such a lovely thing to work on, and people have been incredibly generous with the knowledge they've shared with me so I could write those. And I'm proud of those because they stay out in the world, and hopefully they bring a bit of inspiration show a little bit of what it is that we do. And I think, archaeology should be celebrated and should be out there in the broader public sphere in different ways and tell these stories in different ways.
So if people want, people can still find these. They're on the BBC Sounds web app and website. It's the essays, is that right?
Yeah, it's in the essay series, and they're called Earthworks.
Earthworks. That's
Yeah,
they're brilliant. They're well worth a listen. That's lovely. If you fancy just a meander around the Yorkshire Wolds or something like that, you feel like you're there.
Someone said that they find them very nice to listen to while they're going to sleep, which I'm not sure how to take, but
Quite
I'll say
soothing.
that
Yeah,
one.
I could see. Probably better than driving a car, I think, if that's their inclination.
But to be fair, people say that about us for different reasons.
And you've got a new art exhibition that launched only this month.
Yes, yeah. So I've just we've just had the preview a couple of weeks ago of my exhibition done at the Wiltshire Museum, which is called Downland Art and the Archaeological Imagination in Wiltshire. And David Dawson at the Wiltshire Museum asked me to put on an exhibition, which I sort of had a jaw-dropping moment where I thought, really? It's amazing. And he also said you can use whatever you want from the art collections in the museum, put in it, and they have some amazing things in their art collections. So yes, it's a celebration of how artistic vision and artists from the past through to sort of me today have thought about archaeology, but also how that art has influenced how archaeologists think about the landscape and how other people perceive it. So the exhibition includes work by Paul Nash, John Piper, Julian Trevelyan, Henry Moore, Norman Ackroyd. There's Thomas Guest in there from Salisbury Museum. I mean, those guys are Eric Revilius. They're my heroes. It's basically a list of my heroes, and they're all in there. So it's on until the 24th of January if anyone wants to go and have a look.
So lots of time to check that out. That's fantastic. And I might try and go myself because I've been flicking through art for the last 10 minutes when I should have been paying more attention.
And the Wiltshire Museum has some amazing archaeological material in their collections. It's got all the wonderful Bronze Age barrows from Wiltshire and Stonehenge. And it's definitely well worth an adventure and going to look.
So I'm conscious, Rose, that we've been talking to you now for a little while, and you've probably got a life to
I've
get
been
to.
yakking, Derek.
No. You've
Been
been pure podcast gold. But as you know, we do have a few questions we like to ask you, and these can be long or they can be short, depending on how you're feeling and what sort of answers you've got. But the first one really is, in what seems like an amazing career, having just heard about it, is there one aspect or one project or one piece that you're particularly proud of?
Oh, it's a good question. It's a very hard question as well. I think, I feel like probably finishing the radio programmes and the exhibition in Wiltshire have been really big things. But I think probably the thing that I feel most, I was reflecting on it actually at the preview of the exhibition, was I looked out at the room and thought, I feel really lucky to know so many lovely, inspiring people. And I think that's probably the most valuable thing that's come of my work in archaeology, is just, I feel so lucky to work with such kind, great, inspiring people all the time. I'm always learning, always being made to laugh, always keeping curious, and people who just look out for you. And I think that's probably the most valuable thing, the thing I'm most,
That's lovely. We got a contentious thing that we say on the podcast now again, that there's an element of you make your own luck, and I will throw that out here, in that you are a kind, generous and inspiring individual yourself, so you probably breed and draw in similar people in.
That's very nice of you to say, Lawrence. I'll pay you later.
What about envy then? What have you come across that you're like, whoa, I would love to have been involved with that, or that's really great?
Well, there's so many good things, aren't there? It's, I think people are doing amazing things. I suppose less envy, more inspiring, really. I think one of the things that I've recently become most interesting that I can't do, but which I wish I could, is I did an amazing project with Fraser Sturt and Duncan Garrow up in Scotland, working on the Cranog up there in the Outer Hebrides. And just at the end of the last season up on Lewis, Fraser let me borrow a dry suit and spend time just snorkeling around looking at the underwater remains of the Cranog under the water. And it's just amazing. And I started doing drawing underwater, and I absolutely loved that. And I think that the people who do maritime archaeology, who actually can dive properly and can work in those conditions. And I mean, I had problems not like floating off and things, and I just think I think I'm quite envious of them getting to see that whole other world beneath the water. I think that's quite amazing.
Must admit, that's an envy I share massively. I even got to starting to learn to dive this year with my colleagues at BU, because I was so keen to have a go. And I had some moments where I've probably said it on the podcast before, but I'll say it again because I'm an old man and I'm allowed. That feeling of being under the water and just listening to your own breathing and being in that space was one of the most relaxing experiences I've ever had. And unfortunately, I went and got myself a knock on the head, so I'm not allowed to dive for a year. But I am going to go back. I'm determined to get back into it and go and dive on some cool wrecks, because it's those underwater worlds they just seem so special, and I'm so envious of those folks.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great.
So then, we've got pride, we've got envy, but as you may or may not know, Lawrence and I have spent many a year working on creating a fully functioning time machine that allows all of our podcast guests to hop back in time to anywhen they'd like to go and see. The rules of time travel with Career in Ruins are pretty flexible. We draw on a huge back catalogue of movies and inspiration on how it works. So we can pretty much be flexible to everyone's needs. So if we gave you a return ticket, where would you go?
Well, obviously, my first choice would be to when Bruce Willis had some hair. That would be, But
it's all right, Lawrence. It's not all about hair.
All about Bruce Willis. Basically.
I feel like he's going to hunt some hairless devils. So yeah, that's fine.
He's great. He's great at any point, anyway, isn't he? So, I was thinking about your question, and I thought I suppose in two directions. Like on one hand, I'd love to go back to, in particular, the period when my Roman town at Aldborough was in full swing. Aldborough's literally just on my doorstep, but it's just there out the window. I grew up in Aldborough, and we've been digging it now for 16 years, and it's a lovely sense of sort of literally digging into where you live and where you're from. And I sort of kind of love to see it in full swing when, it wasn't just a little small village in Yorkshire, but when it was absolutely the throbbing heart of northern England, with all kinds of people coming through, and I guess there'd be a good party up at Aldborough to be had. But I'd also love to go forward, and as you know, Lawrence, I've been doing lots with nature recovery work and thinking about how as archaeologists we can feed into our future landscapes, and imagining those. And I'd love to be able to go forward and see how the decisions that we're making today and how our ideas as archaeologists have sort of come into bear fruit in what our landscapes become, I think. And I think it's something that I'm really enjoying at the moment, is thinking about, how as archaeologists we can make our future as well as thinking about the past.
Well, there's a lot to be said there. I mean, we could talk for another half hour about that. One of my biggest things I wax on about is when at work, when they're like, archaeology is not relevant. I was like, we are shaping the future landscape. People will be looking at what we've done in the future and be able to pick out polygonal tree plantation or whatever it might be. But that's a really good shout. I think it'll be fascinating to see. I love that we're leaving a positive sort of memoir in the landscape scale of our ambitions and our drives, and it's not financially driven, it's not commercially driven, it's about sustainability and a positive future. And that would be lovely it'd be lovely to compare bits where we fit into it in a really positive way against bits where they haven't taken that sort of insight and be like, I told you.
Yeah.
Rose, it's been so lovely to talk to you this evening. I feel like we could talk to you for another hour, but
Oh,
I think we've all got better things to be doing. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for sharing your career in ruins with us.
well, thank you very much for listening.
It's been our pleasure.
Absolutely has. And thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. And also, if you happen to be listening this episode, Mel Giles, keep an eye on your inbox because we'd love to talk to you one day. Because at various points in my own career, you've inspired me. And hearing your name tonight made me remember. So it'd be lovely to get you on one day.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Come on, Mel. Come and join us. But for now, thank you for listening. Thank you for all our supporters. Thank you for our Patreon supporters. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to pay our fees and make this happen and share inspirational people like Rose in this brilliant format. And without the listeners and without your support, we wouldn't be nominated for an award at the Council of British Archaeology Archaeological Awards.
Woo!
So thank you, everyone, and thank you for our participants, and we appreciate we are lucky.